live button. This is
I see it.
Live on day. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Zoom and YouTube are having a little personal conversation going on. Up your meeting for YouTube Live. And now I hear my voice back, which is always annoying. Okay. Okay, we are officially live, which is very, very exciting. So if anyone is there watching this video across the void, please comment, let us know that you're there, like the video, just so Louise and I know that there's someone in the ether listening. And I'm just going to quickly just refresh my second device. Oh, yep, we are definitely there. So I know. Good afternoon, Rory. Lovely to hear from you. Great. So for anyone that is new today, this is part of our Everyday Miracles project. So for the last 6 weeks, every Friday at 4 o'clock, I've been joined by an actor or a playwright. And this week, we are very fortunate to be joined by Louise, who is our drama therapist and an actor for the company a bit before my time, yeah? Very, very exciting. So yes, we would love to answer any questions you have. So just put them in the comment box. And I've also got a couple of questions from some students of mine that I'll ask as well as we go through. So Louise, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, where to begin? I could tell you a little bit about my journey with Guildford Shakespeare Company and how I started working with them. Like you said, maybe a bit before you started working with them. So I first came across GSC in 2011 when I was still studying at drama school. I went to Guildford School of Acting, which is also in Guildford, and I was in my final year training to be an actor, and I had some more time on my hands. And at the time, GSC were doing Richard III, one of Shakespeare's plays, in a church, and they were looking for people to come and be in their ensemble, and I applied, and that was the first thing I did with them, and that was great fun as a kind of not yet graduated actor, and had a really fun time doing that, met some great people. And then at the end of my time at drama school, they did a sort of graduate program where they auditioned people from my year to be in their summer season open air theatre, and I got a part in that, well, 2 parts in that, because they were doing 2 plays, and that was my first professional paid job. And so yeah, the start of my career as an actor, and I had the best time working with them. So that was the beginning. And that
must have been so exciting, coming straight out of drama school and getting a couple of roles, professional roles.
It was so exciting. It was literally like, yeah, all of my sort of childhood dreams coming true, really, like getting to play, really good roles as well.
What were the plays, Louise?
So we did A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I played Helena, which was hilarious fun. I got some great costumes, and I just love playing that character. For anyone that doesn't know the play or doesn't know that character so well, she's desperately in love with someone in the play, but he doesn't love her back, but she really keeps going after him, and she's quite not whiny, but yeah, it was really good fun to play. So that was one character. And then we also did the
some great insults as well, doesn't she, when she gets in a fight?
A great fight with Hermia, who is her best friend in the play, but they have a falling out. And I remember one performance we did when it really, really rained, but we got to do this great fight scene, and in the rain, and it was very dramatic, very cold afterwards, but it was just such good fun. And I think she's a real good comic part for a female actor to play. And yeah, it was such a joy, like having people laugh is such a buzz for me. So that was one of them. And then the other play we did was The Merry Wives of Windsor, which was also really good fun. And I played a character called Mistress Quickly in that, who was a sort of maid kind of character, but she was very colourful. And again, I had lots of fun and funny things to do in that. So yeah, that was the beginning.
Great. And then how did you move from being an actor to being a drama therapist? What did that look like?
Sort of a bit of a kind of windy road, I suppose. Alongside acting, I was always really interested in drama facilitating, sort of teaching drama or teaching other subjects using drama. And so I started doing that when I was still training. I started working with the National Youth Theatre, which is, some people watching may have heard of. It's a great national organisation that people can audition to be a part of. I think at the time I did it, it was between the ages of 13 and 25. So I'd done a course with them. And then at the time they did a programme where you could train up to be a drama facilitator. And so I started assisting, and I was really enjoying that, working with young people. And then from there I started to work alongside acting, doing lots of different sort of facilitation or practitioner roles, including working for Guildford Shakespeare Company actually. I used to work on the Saturday school for a while there, which was great fun. And also there was a couple of times they did sort of tours into schools, or sort of readings of plays, so I did a bit of that. And then yeah, sort of worked for lots of different companies, and sort of became more interested in sort of going down, working with people using drama and as a tool. I had experienced when I was younger a great sense of community and a great sense of learning more about myself through it. And then I sort of wanted to do that a little bit more, and then started working with maybe more groups, with specific groups of young people at the Watermill Theatre in Berkshire. Yeah, and with the outreach department there. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting, I want to do more of this, but I wasn't quite sure what. And then I really don't quite know how I stumbled across drama therapy, but I did. I went to an open day at Roehampton University, and it was like all the pennies dropped for me, and I thought, oh, this is what I'd love to train to do. Like, the tutors there gave a speech and it was really inspiring. And yeah, that's kind of the short version. Other things happened in between, but decided, sort of, must have been about 7 years from kind of being an actor to deciding to 7 or 8 years to train as a drama therapist. And yeah, I think it's a great way to, for me I find it a great way that I can keep being creative, keep using those skills, but just in a slightly different way. And also the life of an actor is very tough. And not that I don't think you should pursue it because of that, it's quite a specific lifestyle that you have to be willing to sign up for, sort of, not, always waiting for the phone to ring, always sort of waiting for auditions, and that is quite hard. And I just thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like doing this for the whole of my life. So yeah, made that decision and haven't looked back.
Oh, so fascinating. I'm going to ask Louise a couple of questions, but if anyone has a question, please by all means add it to the comment below. But Louise, for anyone that doesn't know what drama therapy is, can you explain it in a nutshell, if that's possible?
I'll try. So I think my personal opinion is that drama therapy doesn't quite reflect what it is that I do or how I understand it. I think it would be, a better name might be creative therapy or creative psychotherapy. And if people that are watching are familiar with the idea of kind of talking therapy, it has similar links, but instead of just talking, we use creative different creative things to create a bit of distance from the thing that the person that's coming to drama therapy might want to explore. So we might use small objects or arts or a story or characters or games, improvisation exercises to explore if people are going through a moment of difficulty in their lives. It can be a whole range of reasons that someone might benefit from drama therapy. They might be very anxious or depressed, or having a hard time at home or a hard time at school, or they might be an adult that's sort of just struggling to move forward, and they might come and see a creative therapist to explore some of those things. But instead of just talking, we might use a number of different creative things, and you can do it one-to-one. You can have a one-to-one session, and you can also do it in a group. But what I'm sort of keen to let people know is it's not acting, it's not having to act. You don't have to be interested in drama to be a client, to be someone that comes to see the therapist. You're not made to do anything you don't want to do, which I think is really important, because I think sometimes when you hear the word drama can be quite scary to some people. You might think, oh, am I going to be made to stand up and talk in front of people, or am I going to be made to learn lines or act? And then therapy can be quite a scary word as well, because what does that mean? What are we going to look at? And so when you put those two words together, I think it can be a bit off-putting. But in my experience, and from having it done to me, and from being the drama therapist, I think it can be a really interesting way to kind of explore different parts of yourself.
That was a very good description, Louise. And the thing that fascinated me on your video that we watched this week was this tapping technique. I've never heard of it before. Maybe just briefly explain what it is if anyone hasn't managed to watch that video yet. But how does it help? How did you come across it?
So that's not linked to drama therapy. I should be kind of clear about that. They were two very different trainings for me. So if anyone didn't watch the wellbeing video that I did this week, I introduced a technique called tapping, or emotional freedom technique, or tension tapping technique. It's got a few different names, and that's a technique which involves using your own hands to tap on different points of your body, which does sound and it sounds and looks a little bit odd, and it's based on the idea that we have energy running through us. So it's kind of Eastern Chinese philosophy that we have energy running through us, which is called qi. So if you've heard of like Tai Chi or Qigong, qi is another word for the energy lines. And I'm being kind of very vague with this, but their theory, some of this Eastern theory, is that our energy can get blocked when distressing things happen to us, or all throughout our life. And by tapping on these, they're called acupressure points of your head and your face and your hands, whilst you explore the difficult thing you're going through, can shift energy in you, and shift the way you look at things or the way you experience something. So it's a bit like if you've heard of acupuncture, which is when people put sort of little needles in you on these points. It's a bit like that, but without the needles and with some talking.
And you can do it. You can do it for yourself. You don't need anyone else to do it for you.
It's interesting. So I first came across it by going to see someone, and they did it with me. So if me and you were doing it now, and I was the practitioner, and you were exploring something for yourself, we would use words and tapping, and we'd get really specific about what the thing was that was bothering you, and we'd try and sort of unpick it and shift the energy in your body. And also what it does is it lowers the stress hormone in your body. That's what they've done tests on this, and they've proven that it calms your nervous system down, which is just, I think, really helpful. But you can, what's also great about it, and how I explained it on the video, is that you can just do it on yourself without words, and it can have a very positive effect on sort of calming your nervous system down. So there's sort of two ways, but I'm aware it looks and it sounds a bit different and a bit out there, but I sort of came across it for the first time 10 years ago, and I think it's my kind of number one go-to thing, or thing that I recommend people try. So yeah, it's something you have to do.
And the worksheet has little Will doing it, doesn't it? Little William Shakespeare. The worksheet Emma created is amazing.
So yeah, it's just fun. You can follow you download it, follow little William Shakespeare, and he introduces you to all of the points, and yeah, give it a go. I think it's kind of my philosophy with it. Like, just give it a try. It's sort of, I think it's worth a go for everyone, because we're living in a really, well, especially right at the moment, it's quite a stressful time.
Yeah.
But in general, the world is quite stressful, and I think as a stress reducing technique, I think it's just, I sort of recommend everyone to give it a go and see if it works for you. Try it a few times, try it more than once, and yeah.
Nice. We've got a question here. What's your favourite exercise to use in drama therapy?
Oh, that is a great question. My favourite exercise to use. I don't know if I have one favourite exercise, because
I'll give you 2 or 3 if you want, Louise.
I might need it. For me, if I'm working with someone or with a group, I don't necessarily, I'll choose something that that I think the group needs, if that makes sense, or not needs, would find useful. So that would really depend. But in terms of me, so when you train to be a drama therapist, you have to do a lot of practicing on your peers, so the other people in your year group, and you have to go to a lot of it yourself, so you go and experience it yourself. And so for me, I really liked a couple of things. So I loved, with my group that I trained with, who I really love, I love all the people I trained with, we played a game called 7 Up, which isn't technically a drama therapy exercise, and I don't know, do you know it, Fran?
Is that the...
Yeah,
if any of you are from our drama clubs, you would have played this game with me before.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know whether that quite answers the question, but I loved that, because it sort of got me out of my head and just sort of connecting with the group.
And when you make a mistake, it's fun, isn't it? When you're like, oh no, it should have been 7 on my head, not here.
Oh, I don't know. It's not always fun for me. I get very stressed when I have to. I'm very competitive. I'm thinking of all the things I love doing now. So an activity that we would sometimes do as a group all together, when we were sort of processing and working through things, at the end of the day, we had loads of cushions, and we'd pile, and we called it Pillow Mountain, and we'd pile all of the big cushions into a huge mound in the middle of the circle, and then one at a time we'd run up to it and sort of splat in the cushions, and that was a great, you don't really get to do things like that as an adult. Well, when you pass a certain age, even some children don't get to play like that. So getting to be playful, and getting to be around other people that make it okay to do that was really useful for me, because sometimes I might feel like, oh, I can't do that, I'll look silly, or I'll be really worried. But it was really useful for me. Being part of a group was really useful, because seeing other people just run up to the cushions and dive into it was a great memory. Thank you for asking that question, whoever asked it.
Yeah.
It's sparked some really nice, I don't know if I've quite answered it, but I think what's great is that there's so many, as a drama therapist, I think we've got so many tools in our box that we can use, that can be from using something very small, like little objects to tell stories with, which I quite like, and then we got something where you can use our whole bodies and run into cushions and yeah, do things outside of the everyday. So yeah.
I'm going to ask Sarah and Matt if we can get a big bunch of cushions when we go back to the office, so we can.
100%, I recommend, although be safe if you do try that at home. I don't want to disclaimer. Yeah.
Nice, thank you. We also had a question here saying, do you prefer one-to-one therapy sessions or group sessions? And is there a big difference in the approach?
I love questions. They're amazing and they're really making me think, which is great. I really like, I don't know if like's the right word, but I think I get a lot from doing both as the therapist. So I think what's quite nice about working one-to-one is sort of building a relationship with that person and developing a session around them, and really I think that can be really special and really interesting. And it's amazing that people, I think what's amazing with both actually is someone putting their trust in you or being trusting. And I think the same thing, what I love about working in groups, or what I think can be really useful about groups, is that when the group sort of starts to take a life of its own, and you're, as the therapist, I'm kind of looking at the whole picture to see what's going on, but sometimes you can kind of take a step away and just let it happen. And I think sometimes groups can be really difficult for people, really understandably, because it's hard to go into a new group of people. And I think if you get I don't want to use the word good group, but sometimes a combination, the dynamic can be so useful. And I say that sort of having been part of a group. When I think of my drama therapy group that I trained with, I think I made so many discoveries about myself because of this particular group of people. And when I think of being a therapist in some groups that I've worked in, it's just really amazing to see the trust people start to build in each other. And I think sometimes it can be really reassuring if you feel quite alone in your experience, if someone else says something and you think, oh, that's what I feel, and I thought I was the only person in the world that felt like that. And to see that, I think and to experience that is really interesting. So I think the shorter answer to that question is that I think I really enjoy being able to do both. And in my sort of dream job role, I would be sort of doing maybe a group one day and individuals another day. I think it's a real privilege to do both of them and to be able to work with a real range of people. But yeah, great questions.
Thank you. And we also have one saying, what is the best bit about your job?
Ooh.
Really good questions. And it's lovely to have you two joining us today. It's really lovely.
Yeah, no, so useful. It's getting me thinking. Was the question, what's my favourite part of the job?
What's the best bit about your
bit? There's a lot of good bits to it. The best bit is that I get to learn all of the time. I never stop learning because there's no rule book or formula, because everyone is so different. And so I think getting to work with lots of different people and learn about what makes them them is so interesting. I think people are just so great. I just really, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's really I think, hard to be a human being. And yeah, just getting to discover about humans from lots of different humans is just so interesting, and it's a really inspiring part of the job for me. And I think you really learn from the people that you work with, and it's such a it's such a privilege to build a relationship with someone or with a group of people, and to witness them grow or sort of shift is really great. So yeah,
lovely,
really lucky.
Really, really nice. So obviously over the last 6 weeks we've been looking at the Ugly Duckling, and you did kind of 4 videos on, you know, creating a care plan for the Ugly Duckling. And how did you find that process, that analogy, the story? How did you find planning the sessions for it?
It was really interesting. I think what was quite hard was recording the videos, and I think we've had a couple of conversations about this, Fran, that it's just quite hard when you're just speaking into a screen, and if you're not really used to it, that was a bit tricky. But once I got over that bit, the actual thinking of content was not easy is not quite the right word, but because the story is so full of amazing metaphors and kind of symbols of which is really kind of the heart of drama therapy, it kind of did my job for me. I think when you have a really rich tale like the Ugly Duckling, or there's quite a few, but sort of the Hans Christian Andersen ones, and Grimm's fairy tales are other ones, and like really old traditional folk tales that have stood the test of time. Shakespeare plays are another one, that they've got so many themes. So in the Ugly Duckling, there's the duckling being born, so the idea of coming out of the egg, it being born into a new environment, and what's it like when we are in a new environment. If you've watched the first video, that's what I talk about there. There's also lots of relationships in the story. So the mum, the siblings not being nice to the duckling being alone, the weather's changing in it, and also it made me think a lot about adolescence and the teenage years of sort of when he's not yet grown into the swan, and the story for me like evoked this feeling of like when you're not quite an adult but you're not a child anymore. And I think it's such a hard time it can be a really, really challenging time of life, and I think it really made me think about that, like when we're growing our feathers and it can like hurt, and like it's can which I don't know if maybe there are teenagers watching that experience that at different times, this idea of growing up and navigating the world and finding your place, finding your identity,
finding your kind of group of people as well.
Yes, and that can take a long time, and sometimes it can feel like it's never going to happen, but when it does, even if it's just one other person, it's a bit like I was saying about the group before, finding a tribe, or even finding one other person that reflects a little bit of your experience. It's can be really useful to feel less alone. And so it was really interesting to work on it. And what I loved was sort of thinking of the ideas and then being able to, so we had someone do the worksheets for us, Emma, and it was so cool. I've never had this experience before where I'd have an idea in my head and say, I wonder if you could draw this, and she'd do it, and it was like she'd just taken it from my head and put it on this worksheet, and that was a real joy to sort of so if anyone has a chance to download some of the worksheets she's done, they're just really clever. She's really captured them. So yeah,
I know. I thought that with my one, I sent it to her and I've gone, Oh, this makes me look really good.
Yeah,
Created.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So it's nice to work in a team.
Yeah, so all the videos are still available on GSC's website, and we'll keep them up till at least the end of summer. And also next week I'll upload a resources page. So Louise has given me a couple of really interesting websites and YouTube videos to look at. And Ant Stones, the playwright, he's also given us some really interesting books to kind of help us with the writing process. Lovely. Thank you, Louise. I can't believe our time is up already.
And so I feel like I could have kept talking, could have kept answering those amazing questions.
No, really good questions.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you everyone for you could be doing anything with your Friday afternoon, and it's so great that you're, well, great for us that you've chosen to engage with this, and I hope it was useful.
Yeah, it's really informative. A lot of people have asked me saying, oh, this drama therapy sounds really interesting, what is it?
Yeah.
So it's nice kind of making it sound less scary and more
that's good. That if there's one thing people can take away, is that it's not scary, it just sounds scary.
Great. So for those of you that are joining me for the GSC Cafe, you should have received your links already. If you haven't, remember just to email me at eo@guildford-shakespeare-company.co.uk. It's on the website. If you're 12 to 18 and under CAMHS or experiencing some extreme mental health at the moment, please by all means join us for the Zoom cafe. That would be lovely to have you. Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you. That's really interesting, and thank you for all your gorgeous videos over the last 6 weeks.
Well, thank you. It's been always lovely to do anything with GSC.
Cool. Well, thank you. I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining us. Okay.